I'm Ray Benjamin, and this is the In the Cut podcast, where professional writers come to break down their favorite episodes of TV. This season, we're featuring shows that have been honored by the Emmys, and today we're talking about Andor.
We in the cut.
Andor is a show set in the Star Wars universe, created by Tony Gilroy. It follows Cassian Andor, a thief turned rebel, during the 5 years that lead up to the events of the film Rogue One. The Disney Plus show has been nominated for 22 Emmys, including Outstanding Drama Series. Make It Stop is the 10th episode of the second season. Luthen, the mastermind behind the early days of the rebellion, is finally captured by Imperial loyalist Dedra. Café La Vecindad is a family-owned mobile coffee service in LA. From traditional Mexican café de olla to cold brew, every drink is crafted and made to celebrate flavor, culture, and community. For pop-up locations, follow at Café La Vecindad on Instagram. And here to help me fight the Empire is Tian Jun Gu. He was a writer on House of Cards, Y: The Last Man, and among others, many more credits. He's also an alum of the Writers Guild East Showrunner training program and of University of Michigan. I know people are very into that college stuff.
Go Blue. Yeah.
So thank you for being here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so before we get into talking about Andor, we're going to play a quick game called Fade In, Fade Out. Basically, I'm going to fire off some rapid-fire statements in theme with Star Wars. If you're here for it, you'll flip the sign and say fade in. You don't like it, flip the sign, fade out.
All right.
Let's get started. So, first thing is cosplay.
Oh, fade in.
Oh, I'm going to say fade out.
Well, wait, what? Why?
I mean, it's not for me, but for other people, I love that for you.
Yeah. This is if fade in for myself. I mean, like if I cosplay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just support it.
Oh,
I think
okay.
it's just good for all
it's
of us.
cute.
People are excited about the IP. People are excited about the universe.
I agree.
It's good for everything.
I agree.
Good for merchandising.
What about Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland?
Oh, fade in.
Yeah, it is pretty fun. I'm not even like a Star Wars fiend, perhaps, but it is very immersive, very fun.
It's become my favorite part of Disneyland at this point.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, then you probably might be here for this one. Dropping $200 on a lightsaber.
Oh, no, I'm not for that. I'm not spending for a lot of money on something.
A lot of people.
Yeah.
I went with my coworkers, and several of them bought the lightsaber, and I was like, that's dedication.
I like the building of the lightsaber and everything, but I don't need to buy it.
Okay, valid. What about celebrating May the 4th?
Oh, yeah.
I'm here for it. I just like holidays. Any excuse for a random holiday, I'm here for it. I don't care. I'm like a Harry Potter fan, so I would celebrate Harry Potter's birthday when I was...
I agree. I mean, I just went to John Williams at the bowl, and it's everything about Star Wars. I'm just really here for, except for spending a lot of money on something.
Valid. So let's get into breaking down Andor. So why did you choose this episode of Andor to talk about?
Mainly because I thought that there should have been more love at the Emmys for Andor, especially on the acting side. And I can't help but think just because it is Star Wars, its genre, that it's not getting its flowers. So I thought that, it's kind of perfect to bring up this one, and especially to talk about not just Elizabeth Dulau, who I think is just going to be a really fierce star in the future, but also the girl that was playing young Kleya.
So good.
April Woods?
Yeah, I think
excellent.
Child actors, it can always be a bit, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But she, honestly, was probably one of the best actors on the whole series. She did a really great job.
One episode. Mm-hmm. Oh, like that casting director killed it. Nina Gold, I think. Yeah.
Very good. So, as I said, I don't know much about Star Wars. So, when you chose this episode, I'm like, okay, am I going to get into this? I went back and actually watched the whole first first season and the whole second season, not just this episode. And I really got into Andor.
Yes.
I was like, oh, maybe I do like Star Wars. But then I was sort of researching and online, and people were saying Andor is like Star Wars for people that don't like Star Wars.
Exactly.
So why do you think it is so broadly appealing to people that may or may not be familiar with Star Wars?
Well, for this one specifically, it tackles more adult themes, and I think it's kind of perfect for the times because it is so much about the cost of rebellion, anti-fascism, and how any of us can really change our fate if we truly work together. And there's going to be obviously downsides to it, but the upsides, as we can see, are immense.
Yeah, I love the show. It's really great. So once I started watching the show, I found the structure to be very unique and singular. It almost feels like a movie structure rather than a TV structure, especially the second season when you have sort of the triplet episodes that go through the whole year. How do you like this sort of cinematic approach to TV storytelling, which I don't see very often?
Yeah, it threw me off at first, but it made sense just because it is the Gilroy brothers, and then also Beau Willimon, and I think in the second season they brought on Tom Bissell. I was thrown by it at first because I remember watching the pilot of Andor, and I was like, oh, it feels like a uneventful pilot. But I was like, I really enjoy Tony Gilroy's writing, and I was gonna give it as many episodes as I was gonna give it. But I was just immediately hooked by the second episode, and I could see that, oh, they're actually building to something. It's not just a boring pilot. I don't even want to really call it boring. I mean, it's just not very traditional in that it starts with like some sort of like crazy flash forward, and it needs to grip the audience, to make sure that they stay on for the next 50 minutes. I ended up loving it.
Yeah, I think to your point, since it is created by feature writers, it feels very features. And a lot of the episodes, they do, I wouldn't say boring because I like them all, but they feel more like setup. Like nothing really happens. It's just like, oh, this entire episode just set up for something that's going to happen 1 or 2 episodes later, which, is a different structure. But I think because it is so well done, especially the visuals on this show are so beautiful, you are intrigued to keep watching, even if some episodes may be a bit slower paced, but I still think it's a great show.
Yeah, the fact that they built practical sets, and there's just real filmmaking and care for the craft throughout the entire show.
Yeah, each episode feels like a movie. When I was watching it, I was like, how much does this cost? Like, that was my thought. Watching the pilot, I'm like, this set is so huge. There's so many extras. Like, it just felt like much larger than a TV show and just very well done.
That's where all that $200 lightsaber money goes to.
I love that. So getting into the episode, we open with Luthen getting an emergency call from Lonnie, which is Luthen's spy inside the Empire ISB. So Kleya sort of sketched out, doesn't want Luthen to go meet Lonnie, but, he's going to go do it anyway. We learn in that conversation that Lonnie has access to Dedra's files. Dedra's been after Luthen for years. It's unclear if she knows who Luthen is, but what he did stumble upon is the plans for the secret weapon, which, audiences will know is a Death Star. Even I knew that, even though I'm not a Star Wars fiend. I was like, oh, I knew something. But after that scene, Luthen kills Lonnie, which shocked me. And so what really struck me about this show was sort of the moral ambiguity of Luthen. And some of the rebellion characters, a lot of times I'm watching, I'm like, oh, they're just as bad as these Empire folks.
Totally.
Like, they use people, they kill people when they're no longer useful. Even Cassian, they wanted to kill him. But, what do you think that sort of social commentary is being made about the nature of rebellion? And the oppressed people sometimes adopting the tactics of the oppressors. That's sort of what I was taking from that.
Well, in that case specifically, anyways, for Lonnie, he obviously cared about the safety of his own family.
Yes, he was probably going to rat them out eventually.
If not rat them out, he was probably going to lead the entire empire to the rebellion's back door. So there was just no way of really keeping Lonnie safe. I mean, unless I guess you know, shoot him out into space in like a in like a cryopod or something. But even then, it was weirdly the most merciful thing that you could do to keep everyone safe. And even in that scene, Luthen makes a gamble and says Yavin. So he actually reveals where the base is. But of course,
that might be because it's going to kill him.
Yes. And it might be, but also he needs to find out more to really weigh, you know, whether it's bringing Lonnie to Yavin or needing to cap him right there. You know, in that very specific case, I was shocked just because Lonnie's such a beleaguered character. I was like, oh, this sucks for this guy. Like he
just wanted to save his family.
Yeah. But he should have believed Luthen back in season 1. Luthen said, "I'm giving everything," and
that's true.
Lonnie was not. You know, it's like you're revealing your biggest secret to the guy that just said he's willing to give everything. You don't think he might kill you in this moment? So it was a lot of desperation and pushed it to, I thought, the most logical point in terms of what it means for real life. I think it's hard, I think, at any given moment if the oppressors are that bad. This is more a personal view. I think that sometimes we do need to adopt the tactics of the oppressors because otherwise I'm not sure how things can really get done, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, just to get political for a second, but look at Trump in office. So many people saying, oh, he's not going to be as bad. You know, he's not going to be as bad. He's not going to be as bad. I just don't think that people have the imagination of how bad things can get unless they actually experience the pain. So I think sometimes for, unfortunately, a lot of people, and I think that's due to them maybe not paying attention to the news or paying attention to the wrong news, or their circumstances, whether financially, socially, that doesn't allow them to sort of tap in and kind of like see the bigger forces at play. Because I mean, a lot of people are tired right now. A lot of people don't really necessarily have time, energy, or money to spend on dealing with things other than their own survival or their family's survival. So sometimes you just have to feel the pain to know that things, yes, are about to get really, really bad. But to shake people out of that pain, sometimes you have to meet pain with pain.
That's true. And especially for the show with the rebels, they aren't just, executing innocent people randomly the Empire. They basically are killing people that will hinder their cause. I even think about, if you're leading a rebellion, if anyone shows some sort of hint of being a traitor, you kind of unfortunately have to get rid of that person. And that was Lonnie's case and other people's case on the show as well. It reminded me, I went to actually an event at the Guild they had for the Emmys, and Dan Gilroy was there, and he was talking about Andor and how he is a student of history, and he was saying how he put everything he knew about, the French Revolution, the Haitian Revolution, sort of into this show. And I think you can see that sometimes, a lot of times, unfortunately, when we see revolutions, the people that take over, maybe they are doing some bad stuff as well in these cases. And so I think it was actually realistic to see someone who's a rebellion leader like Luthen not be some perfect white knight hero, but someone that is flawed and complex, even though his heart is in the right place.
Right.
So moving on in the show, Luthen goes back to his shop and we see Dedra enter the shop. And this scene is just so brilliant to me. Can you talk about this scene and how it sort of uses subtext and the cat and mouse game to keep the tension mounting?
It's the perfect setup. And this is also why I love this episode, because it just feels like everything has been building up to this moment. From the very first season, Dedra's been looking for Axis, who she believes is the rebel leader. And we know who it is. She finally knows who it is. They obviously, for Luthen, he thinks maybe for a moment she doesn't know, and he can get away. So it's just, the tension is so unbearable. That once she comes out with that Star Path unit, and we just know, that was the thing that led her to this door. We're like, what other moves does Luthen have? Honestly, I was like, with this show, it could have gone any which way. I was like, is he just gonna blow up his entire shop? Like, I don't. It could have been something extreme, but for him, he. And also just the way that he introduced the knife.
The knife.
Yeah. I was like, well, if you're going to introduce the weapon, you're going to use it. and him just trying to take that way out and unfortunately failing at the end of the scene.
Yeah. That scene was crazy because, he did stab himself to avoid getting taken by the Empire. But to go back to something earlier you said, when Lonnie had accused him of, in the first season, sort of like, you're just in the sidelines, this doesn't really affect you, I'm the one sacrificing. And Luthen says, I'm sacrificing everything. What are you talking about? And this really shows that Luthen did sacrifice everything. He sacrificed his own life for the cause. And I think that was just a fitting way for him to go out, this character that's sort of been accused of not contributing in the way that he asks others to.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
And at Luthen's shop, we also get a lot of Easter eggs in his shop. Like, we see Queen Amidala's little helmet there, some other trinkets that, I had to look up some fan reaction videos to see, but it was really cool. So, you worked on Y the Last Man, which is also based on comic book IP. How, as writers, do you find those moments to sort of pay homage to the original IP and the fans for the shows you write?
Yeah, if something works well for the scene, if we can just rip it from the comic book itself, in the case of Y, obviously we would love to do that. In others, if you are paying an homage, you just don't want it to be distracting from the scene itself. And I thought they played it so well in his shop. But also threw in some extra things that I didn't find out until interviews from Elizabeth Dulau. Apparently, the stones from Indiana Jones were in the corner shelf during the burn scene. Yeah,
so cool.
Like, people recognized it.
I didn't know that.
But things like that, it's just so nice to see. And I think it rewards longtime fans and new fans as well, as they continue to explore this world and get deeper with it. It all feels richer, and I think it pays dividends for everyone.
Yeah, 100% agree. So meanwhile, Kleya goes back to the safe house. She's sort of trying to gather her assets, and that's when we get our first set of flashbacks that explain Luthen and Kleya's backstory, their relationship. Now, in seeing those scenes, to me, it really served as a foil to the relationship between Cassian and Maarva. Like, they both had this adoptive relationship, but very sort of different emotions tied to it. How do you think that the relationship between Cassian and Maarva sort of juxtaposed against Luthen and Kleya?
I think for Cass and Maarva, there were more outward displays of love and affection, obviously, versus, for Kleya and Luthen, we're going to get a little ahead of this. but Luthen was kind of involved in the massacre of Kleya's people. So usually not a great start to an adoptive family situation. And I will say, out of that, though, and that's what I think the episode does so well and was so confident in doing, too, the fact that they started a very sustained flashback story more than a third of the way into the episode. Yeah, it started very late. But to really give so much texture to all of it and show that Kleya and Luthen were more equals than maybe even father and daughter, in the way that for Maarva and Cass, it was mother and son. These are two people that are willing to give themselves entirely to the rebellion, versus even Maarva. Spoiler alert for those who haven't seen season 1, but it's not until she's on death's door that she gives that call to action. And for Cassian, I mean, his entire journey is, are you going to be in with the rebellion or not? And so that's what we're watching versus Luthen and Kleya. They're all in from the start, pretty much.
That's very true. I didn't think about that. So, as you mentioned, they don't start the flashbacks until a third of the way into the episode. And another spoiler alert, Luthen's going to die at the end. So, why do you think it was effective to sort of wait until the episode where he dies to then also introduce his backstory? I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. For me, I mean, one of your main characters is in a coma, so it's
can't do much.
Can't do much, they were stuffing so much into that second season. The fact that they were jumping a year between blocks of episodes to get to, obviously, to the finale where they launch into Rogue One. I couldn't even really see where else they could give air to Luthen and Kleya's relationship, and I thought it was handled really well, as well as they could. I mean, for something that again starts a third of the way into the episode to give backstory, but the backstory was I think flashbacks work the best if they're just as compelling as the story that you're trying to tell. In your present timeline. And the flashbacks were, I mean, I thought they were just as compelling.
Yeah, I think it worked perfectly, actually, to see sort of Luthen in peril in real time, Kleya trying to save him in real time, and then going to their origin relationship. I think, honestly, I don't know if it would have worked well in other episodes to learn that early. I think that was perfect to, this guy's going to die. We're going to get his story before he dies. I think it was perfect timing.
Yeah.
So Dedra arrives at the hospital. Luthen is taken there. He needs to be kept alive because, as he said, he's access. She needs to interrogate him. But, this time she's gone too far. Dedra has the habit of ignoring Imperial rules when it doesn't suit her. She just wants to get to the bottom of it no matter what the rules are. Empire doesn't like that. So because she's overstepped, she's finally arrested, which I didn't see that coming. That was a shock to me. And then we get this cool sequence where Kleya breaks into the hospital floor where Luthen is being kept. She's like Mission Impossible style. What did you enjoy most about that scene?
It was so tense, and I really liked that it was so chronologically tight. We are seeing moment by moment the decisions that she's making. It's not just like all of a sudden she's in the hospital or all of a sudden she's on, whatever floor. We see all of the decisions that she has to make, and we also see how good she actually is. Because up to this point, we haven't seen her be such an effective spy, but we see her and also that there were mistakes, or not mistakes, but it doesn't go perfectly. Yeah, it doesn't go perfectly. Just like when she's opening up the different lockers and the first one is someone's lunch, and then finally she finds a nurse's outfit. It just makes so much sense, and I love seeing stuff like that. And that there was just a little bit of humor when she was pushing the grandma alien around. And even the moment of them going up the elevator where the grandma makes the noise, and Kleya is just so confused and thrown off. It was just perfect comic relief. Yeah,
it is really good. And like you said, this is really the first time we see Kleya directly involved in rebellion activity. Usually she's just at the shop, and usually Luthen is ordering other people to do stuff. And so given those flashbacks, I was thinking maybe that was his way also of protecting her. Because I didn't even know she would be that capable. Obviously she's clearly like expert assassin. She should probably be out there on the fields like Cassian. But I think, you know, even though Luthen doesn't say I love you, I think that was his way of showing love, is keeping her safe. So we get this beautiful scene where she disconnects Luthen from the life support, kisses him goodbye, and we just have this really long fade out scene, which it forces you to just sort of look and pay attention, and I don't think I'd ever seen a fade out that long in TV. So do you think that, you know, just last image is a fitting tribute to a character like Luthen?
I think that gives him as much dignity as is possible for dying in a Coruscant hospital in a coma, and not being able to see your next sunrise. It's and also again, it forces the viewer to really sit with again the consequences of a rebellion and how much people do have to give in order to fight on the right side of history.
Yeah, and it just shows what we have to give. That, like, that's the whole point of the series, to be honest, is how far are you willing to go. And even seeing Cassian's arc when he first helps the rebels in the first season and he gets his portion of the money, he says, you know, I'm just going to go to some other planet, hide out from the Empire. Well, we know that didn't work well. The Empire's going to find you wherever you go. So it's sort of like you either have to pony up and fight, or, you know, they're gonna kill you anyway, so you might as well go out with a bang sort of mentality.
It doesn't matter how many cool techno bangers Star Wars is gonna give you, you're gonna have to get dragged back in and fight.
Exactly. So this last scene with Luthen and Kleya also doesn't really have, there's no dialogue. I thought maybe, you know, when she unhooked him and he looked, I'm like, oh, we're gonna get like a last I love you, like some last death speech, but we don't get that. It's just all conveyed through looks, which I think is perfect. How do you think the writers sort of built their relationship through all the previous episodes, through these flashbacks, so that final moment of no talking is really earned?
I mean, for the first, before this episode, we get just so much of their dynamic and them just on task. Whether Kleya's going out to meet with the other rebels, you know, everything is just, it's just them being very good at their jobs. And now, for this final episode, for the two, or for the relationship, I mean, their jobs are each other, and it's and the flashbacks just do so much heavy lifting to allow the story to earn that final moment. And I mean, it's a very heartbreaking moment, even for me, up to the very last moment. Even though I knew Kleya had to do what she had to do, I was like, maybe she'll break him out. I was like, maybe this hospital bed floats, and you know, she's just gonna push him right out of here. And I was like, oh no, there's just no way that's happening. So you earn a lot by showing the characters be just so good at what they are doing, but also being sure to show the integrity of their character as well. And I will say, for Kleya and Luthen, they never betrayed character. Mm-hmm. And for this final moment, for her to have to do what she has to do and essentially do a mercy killing of Luthen, but also, again, to ensure that the rebellion continues, because we've seen what they've done with Bix, torturing her. We know that they're going to continue to torture Luthen to get as much information out of him as possible. It's all of these things have been set up for us to understand this is what she has to do, even though it is so incredibly painful for us as viewers to watch, and I'm sure for her to even do.
Yeah, and I think it's a lesson as writers that we don't have to sort of overwrite scenes. I think for a less skillful writer, a version of this scene would be, like I said, she would be giving him some long speech, even though he's incoherent. She probably would have given him some long speech. He would have woke up, gasped for breath, said something. Yeah. But we don't get any of that. It's just played through acting, through emotion. So I believe that, you know, if you don't have to have words, then you don't need them, and just let the scene do what it needs to do.
That's a really good point too, because again, it's also playing the reality of the situation. How is she going to have a sustained goodbye while there's stormtroopers like in the hallway and ISB agents about to rush into the hospital? She doesn't. So this is just this is as much as she can give in that moment, which makes it, again, even more heartbreaking. The reality of the situation is played, and that, I mean, reality, you should mine as much of that as possible for drama.
100% agree. So again, that last scene, visually stunning, but in general, the cinematography, I brought this up, of the show is just unreal. Like nothing like I've ever seen. It's very cinematic. How do you think the visuals of the show lead, you know, to its effectiveness?
You believe that you're there. Everything feels so lived in. From the costumes to the sets to
production design, beautiful.
Yeah, unreal. To you know, their ships that are in. I mean, everything. You just think that, yeah, of course these are their lives. This is just what they exist in, and it helps to keep your viewers keyed into your world.
Yeah, I think they've definitely been nominated for Emmys in those technical categories. Well deserved.
Yeah.
And one thing I didn't notice until I watched it for a second time is that Andor is not even in this episode. You know, the show's called Andor. Andor's not in the episode, but it's something I really did not notice and didn't really miss or care for, because the show was so captivating just on this one story. I wasn't really worrying, like, where's Andor? Because the ensemble cast is so strong. So what do you think writers can learn from this show about crafting a strong ensemble cast?
Make every character as interesting as your lead. That's it. Give them backstory, give them heart, give them wants, give them needs, give them fears, anxieties, all of it. And this is more behind the scenes stuff, but making sure that you're in a collaborative environment where you're also able to do that. And Andor, from the very first episode, it's a show that was very clear in the story that it wanted to tell. And it wasn't just going to be about Andor, even though Andor sort of becomes the symbol of, and also our eyes into the world. It's really about everyone else. And it is really about the rebellion. And you can't really show the rebellion without showing the other rebels.
I love that. And on that note, we can send this conversation into hyperspace. Thanks.
Nice.
I love a pun. So thank you for chatting about Andor. Really, when you chose a show, it forced me to watch Andor, and I thoroughly enjoyed every minute. So thanks for that.
That's my act of rebellion, getting as many people to watch Andor as possible.
I know. I'm like, I think maybe I'll watch more Star Wars. It really inspired me.
Well, if you're not, well, yeah, you should, totally. And buy that $200 lightsaber.
No, not that far. But before we wrap the episode, would you mind sticking around for a couple questions about your career?
Absolutely.
In the Cut podcast is produced by Video Del Mar, a full-service production company. If you've ever thought about doing a video or audio podcast, they can help you with everything, from pre-production and planning to filming and final edit. To learn more, visit videodelmar.com. We're back with Tian Jun to answer a few questions about his career. So, you were a writer on House of Cards, which was really one of Netflix's first hit shows. Years later, we now know what streaming has become, what Netflix has become. So, how do you think Netflix really changed the TV landscape?
In quite a few ways.
Yeah, for better or worse?
It's... At the time, they were the only ones offering a binging model where all the episodes were released at once, and a lot of streamers. Well, first of all, streamers were created, and then a lot of streamers also followed suit. But I think we've learned now that's kind of an unsustainable model, especially with there's just too many TV shows and movies and anything to keep sustained audience engagement, I think. And, the other thing that Netflix did was, especially since they were the new kids on the block, they had to do things wildly different, which is something that I hope studios and streamers today can take to heart, because Netflix had to be more daring and had to make more noise in order for people to pay attention. So to do something like House of Cards, where the opening shot is your protagonist killing a dog.
Yeah, I recently watched that show. I was like, oh no.
That's not a thing. Obviously, that was done a lot at that time, or if at all, I think. But those sorts of things, taking a chance on story, on character, on creators. First and foremost, especially specifically in creators with a vision, rather than this is more related to right now, especially with the sort of consolidation of our industry and as things are contracting. That I think is the best thing to take out of it, which is again, similarly, House of Cards came out 1-2 years after the recession. So, coming out in a very depressed period, obviously people weren't feeling great about the nation, feeling great about the world, but here is this new studio that's coming out swinging and not trying to play it safe. I hope that more so that's the lesson that our entire industry can take and continue to create very exciting, interesting things that will get people watching again.
Yeah, so no more 8th sequel of some IP.
Yeah. As we were just talking about Star Wars.
Hey, but that's good.
That's true. Yeah, but also that was a more interesting take.
It wasn't your standard take.
On the IP. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so new ideas or refresh old ideas. So this goes into my next question. A lot of newer writers I meet want to be showrunners. That's their whole dream, but they don't really understand that being a showrunner is more about being a manager of people rather than an actual writer. So as someone who participated in the Writers Guild East Showrunners training program, can you share a few things that you learned that surprised you maybe about the job of a showrunner?
Yeah, the biggest surprise is why anyone wants to do it.
I agree. I don't know if I really have no desire to be a showrunner. People ask me that. I'm like, no, I'm good. But
honestly, you feel like Luthen Rail. Like you have to give so much of yourself over to the job because it can be all-consuming. And even for the people that are good at sort of dividing responsibilities and being able to delegate, it's not necessarily like the studio is always going to give you a producing director to handle more of the production side of things, or give you enough money to hire the number 2 that you want. There's just so many things that can go wrong, and you as the showrunner, you're managing all of that. You've got an eye on the budget. You've got an eye on the morale of your crew, your staff, your talent, yourself, maybe if there's time or energy. I think a lot of younger writers, what they really want more than anything when they say they want to be a showrunner is, how do I be in control? And I think that's the wrong thing to want necessarily, because you don't understand. Again, if you're really in control of everything, well, then you got to be in control of everything. If you're just starting out, you're not necessarily going to have the experience or the tools or the support network to be in control of everything. And there is something to be said about having at least a little bit of experience and using it and kind of knowing what you're doing. So I think there's that, of course, there's a fear of, again, you're a younger writer, and let's say you do have the show, your show was just greenlit, I'm sure there's a lot of fear of being paired up with the wrong showrunner too, that may not totally get your show, even though they're completely capable with like production, with all these other things that you don't have your eye on. What was the question again?
It was like, what things did you learn in the showrunner training program that surprised you?
Oh, well, I was going off in a totally different direction.
This is all good.
The things that surprised me, I don't know if there were that many surprises, so much as reinforcing the things that I saw while I was on set.
Yeah.
I was also on set on House of Cards for
that's great.
for 2 seasons. So being able to work so tightly with the showrunner and the production heads and everything, I think hearing stories from showrunners in that program, I realized, every show is so unique, and you really do have to find the right sort of dynamic for your own show, and that's being a very attentive manager, being someone that has good interpersonal skills, while also being a very productive writer, because you have to finish those rewrites, not just finish the episodes, but there's gonna be a lot of rewriting that you need to do, because you never know when you're gonna lose a location randomly, or the talent that you cast can't say the lines that you wrote, or the talent that you cast is totally different from the character that you envisioned, but they just seem like they're the best person for that job. There's just so many things that are coming at you that if there's I feel like an overarching thing of what I was reminded of while I was in that program, it's be sure you have a vision for your story. Be a very open but firm manager, because you have to know what you want. People do need direction. And just don't be an asshole.
I wish more people would take that last one.
Yeah.
Luckily, I've worked for very kind bosses, but I hear stories from other people. Like, it actually made me fearful. Like, my show ended after 5 seasons, and I was like, my boss is so great, I don't want to work for anyone else. Like, people are crazy. But thank you so much, Tian Jun, for being here, answering those questions. I'm sure it'll be helpful to people. And really appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks again to our guest, Tian Jun Gu, and to the writer of this episode of Andor, Tom Bissell. If you enjoyed this podcast, do us a favor, like, follow, and subscribe. You can watch the video on YouTube or listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can also give us a follow on Instagram at InTheCutLA or TikTok at InTheCutLA1, or visit our website, inthecutla.org. If you'd want to advertise with us, shoot us an email, podcast@inthecutla.org. And until next time, stay in the cut.